This video encourages you to explore fear and to understand it. With rare exceptions, our greatest problem is our lack of awareness of who we truly are in our deepest essence. From this, fear arises. The core of fear lies in the fact that our body and mind are impermanent and vulnerable. Because we identify with them, we fear for ourselves, for our own existence. All violence is the result of various kinds of fear. All hatred is the result of various kinds of fear. I cannot think of any kind of suffering that would not be the result of some form of fear. War? Fear for one's own safety? Fear that others will dominate and enslave them. Political struggles? Fear that the other side will humiliate them. Fear that they will take away their jobs and restrict their freedom. Fear that, after leaving politics, they will remain alone, abandoned. Contract killings? Fear that the victims would harm them in the future. Fear that without the money they receive, they would suffer. Lies? Fear of humiliation. Fear of losing a fabricated authority. Fear that, without fighting, they will do worse than others. The topic of fear is useful not only for financially poor people, but also for financially wealthy ones. For a grandmother in your country, and for a financier like Soros as well. We all know that it is good to be fearless, but we probably do not have any scientific work where the question, how to be not afraid, is solved. Therefore, it is inevitable to find the answer in our own experiences and another human knowledge area. This area of human knowledge is the teaching of spiritual people like Lao Tzu, Siddhartha Gautama, Jesus, Rajneesh Chandra Mohan Jain, and others. Many ordinary people believed and still believe those spiritual people. If we do not have the answer in science, maybe it is not a waste of time to look at the teachings of those people also. We can compare scientific results with spiritual teachings and our own experiences. Let's find an answer to the question of fear. In its essence, it is a hypothesis, so do not believe it immediately. Try to prove it by your own experiences. Only then will it be a theory for you. George Ivanovich Gurdjieff says, "I ask you to believe nothing that you cannot verify for yourself." What do we observe? Krishnamurti says, "Everyone, or almost everyone, is frightened of something. It may be the fear of death, loneliness, not being loved, not becoming famous or successful, the fear of not having physical security and of not having psychological security. There are so many multiple forms of fear. We can see in our society that people would like to be fearless, but they do not know how. The example is the last sentence that a father told his son, mentioned in Mel Gibson's movie, Apocalypto. Don't be afraid. Maybe the fact that we do not know what it means to be not afraid is why we do not know how to be not afraid. It is illustrated in Jet Li's movie, Fearless. The movie shows that to be fearless does not mean to be free of only fear from physical pain, but it means to be free of fear from anything, including our death, or the death of our close friends. Let's first mention fears related to schools. It is surprising, then, that in spite of its prevalence in schools, fear and anxiety have been relatively neglected by sociologists of education. Yet, it behooves us, as sociologists of education, to seek to understand fear. Understanding how fear works could make an enormous difference to health and well-being in our society. Understanding how fears operate is important for developing theories and practices to promote social justice. Our experience is that pupils and teachers tend not to trust other people. Closeness means a loving trust. Why are we not close? Because there is fear. We see violence in schools, such as bullying and harassment. Not only are victims afraid, but also bullies are afraid. Bullies are afraid that their victims will cause them suffering in the future. Their mind wants to destroy or eliminate them. Bullies are afraid that without frightening and hurting others, they will have a worse future. Pupils' performance in schools is closely related to their fears. Pupils who are often afraid cannot concentrate well on the curriculum. They are afraid of their security and need more than good grades. Preparation of students for living in society depends on their fears as well. People that are afraid cannot have a peaceful relationship with others. Fear causes separation and division, creating conflict in any relationship. The whole physical and psychological development of pupils can be suspended because of fear. Pupils and students smoke because they are afraid they will feel worse without a cigarette. They are often drunk because they are afraid to establish a relationship with the opposite sex. Pupils neglect physical activity because they are afraid of a bad future without it. They think they need to check their Facebook account every day to avoid exclusion. All these examples arise because of psychological fear. Let us therefore investigate how to be not afraid.
Let us investigate what we observe. Is it possible to be fearless? Krishnamurti says, and it is possible to be completely free of fear. And I'm not saying this as a theory. I know it. I've gone into it. When we permanently repair only the top of a building and damaged foundations remain unrepaired, we will always encounter other problems with such a building. Similarly, if we investigate only the individual questions connected with the fear mentioned above, and the root of the fear remains unnoticed, we will always encounter difficulties with other situations. Let us therefore investigate the fear from its basic essence, from its foundations. Jiddu Krishnamurti says, thought is responsible for fear. It has nourished it, encouraged it, and it has done everything to sustain it. I am afraid of the pain that I had yesterday happening again tomorrow. This is the movement of thought. And he says, a bus coming towards you causes you to step aside, or when you run away from a dangerous animal, that's a natural self-protective reaction. But that's not fear. All fear, even fear of physical pain, is created as thoughts in our minds. Therefore, it is psychological fear. The word psychological points to the real nature of fear. It is not something that our surroundings, like external situations, create. It is something that our mind creates. We can cut our fingers with a knife, but we are not afraid of the situation of cutting. We are afraid of the imagined consequences of that cutting. That means we are afraid of a thought that arises in our mind during the cutting. We do not need to feel any fear to pull our finger away from the knife. It is enough to realize that it is better to have a healthy finger. The additional burden of fear is not helpful to us at all. This extra feeling of fear is not only useless, it is even harmful to us. Almost everybody might have seen how effectively a calm fighter fights, and how ineffectively an angry fighter fights. The angry fighter has an extra burden called fear that prevents his body from fighting effectively. Our body in relation to an illness can be compared to such a fighter. Essentially, the origin of the whole fear arises in the identification with our mind. We think we are our minds. We think that our story, my job, my name, my education, my family, and so on, defines us. Even all our stress is there because our false self, called ego, is afraid of something. And we are identified with this afraid ego. Then we say that we are afraid. Other living creatures without a mind cannot be really afraid, but they can instinctively leave a dangerous place or instinctively attack another living creature. Our false self, the entity called ego, feels that it can die easily at any moment. This feeling is well justified because the ego is only a fiction, so it can really be destroyed at any moment. Thus, The ego's fear is well justified, but the fear of our true nature is nonsense. Our true nature cannot die because it was not born. It is eternal. As written in the book Tao Te Ching, our essence is the essence of the universe. Eckhart Tolle says we, our true self, cannot die and cannot be damaged in any way. We can lose our form, the physical body and our mind, but it is all. At the moment, as we sit here and now, we can experience our sensory perceptions, our thoughts, and our emotions. Is there something else? Yes, there is. If we name it, it is not true, because every word is only an expression of a thought. But we can feel it. We can be aware of it. We are that, and the miracle is that we can be aware of ourselves. So, we are not the mind. This is the essence. Our body and mind can be destroyed or damaged, but we cannot be destroyed or damaged. Therefore, the fear is not justified. If you are identified with your mind right now, you think that these sentences above are just mumbo-jumbo, but then you cannot tell us how not to be afraid. Then your ego says that it is necessary to be afraid at least sometimes. Addicted people say the same thing, that it is not possible to be not addicted and simultaneously to be happy. If our egos do not know something, they can still say we cannot know it. Interestingly, people who are less afraid than the majority of people have fewer injuries, fewer diseases, and experience less damage to their mind or physical body. You can observe it in ordinary people around you. The common situations in where the fear arises still point to the fact that it is only because we think we are the mind. And the situations where the fear does not arise, for example, establishing a peaceful relationship, only happen when we are not identified with our mind. When we are identified with the mind only a little, the fear arises only a little, and so on. Probably the biggest fear that we can feel is the fear of losing our physical body. The loss of our physical body is just a transformation, similar to many other transformations that we can see non-stop, everywhere around us. On short timescales, all human and animal embryos go through very similar early development stages. These stages are first unicellular, later they are similar to fish, amphibians, or reptiles, and finally, mammals. On long timescales, the precursors to our bodies were chemical elements created in stars, later on Earth, clusters of molecules, later ribonucleic acids, much later fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and finally, mammals and humans. Even if somebody closes our body into a small dark room, we do not escape from the vicinity of many deaths. In the room, there will be deaths of bacterial bodies, many deaths of body cells, many deaths of viruses, and so on. Moreover, many creatures typically live less than 1 day. The duration of the existence of our physical body is only a glimpse of the cosmic realm. The ratio of 100 years, our life, to 14.5 billion years, the universe's life, is only about 6.9 multiplied by the 10 to the power of -9. It means that from the universe's perspective, the duration of our life is only about 0.69 microseconds. Therefore, the universe is not even able to see such an event, like the human body's life. Even from the perspective of the Earth, the duration of our life is like 2.2 microseconds for us. The existence of humanity as a whole is noticeable for the Earth, but it represents only about 89 milliseconds. Therefore, what difference actually is to live 30 years and live 100 years? Jesus says, "Do not fear those killing the body but unable to kill the psyche life." Lao Tzu says, "The body comes to its ending, but there is nothing to fear." And if we are not afraid of the loss of our body, how important for us are then so-called problems like slander, ridicule, and others? The majority of other problems are just thoughts in our heads. For example, what other people say about our personality is often totally not personal. They just have a strong urge to say it to somebody. If our body is close to their body, it will be addressed to our body. But the following day, another body will be close to them, and they will tell that body almost precisely the same words. If we really want to realize that other people's behavior is not addressed personally to our personality, we have to realize that they have just the same ego as we have. We cannot create any additional fear whenever we do not think, but we can also think and simultaneously not create fear. Thinking can create fear, but it does so only when we are identified with that thinking. So, what to do? The following sentences are addressed to your ego in order to be dissolved. Do not be afraid. As it is written in the book, Course in Miracles, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. We are always afraid of something in the future which does not exist. Therefore, we are always afraid of something that is not real. When we meet somebody who is obviously a killer in a dark street, we are actually not afraid of that one moment, but of the consequences of the situation that we imagine at that moment. We can escape from that situation even without any fear. The fear actually makes us only stuck in the situation and further provokes the killer. According to Tolle, whenever a situation that usually causes fear inside you arises, there are three possibilities for you. Either escape from the situation, or change the situation, or surrender to the situation. If you are not able to do any of these three possibilities and you start to be afraid, you still have a second chance. The second chance is to accept your fear itself. Face the fear, feel it fully, but do not think about it. If you really surrender to your feeling of fear, fear will dissolve immediately. It is not meant to surrender to the story, I will have a bad future, but to surrender to the present state in which I feel fear at the moment. From this state of surrender, positive action can arise. Tolle says, there are two cases when we already feel the fear, an emotion in our body. In the first case, a thought about a future created this extra fear, the emotion. In such a case, realize that it is only a thought and pay attention to the present. If not, that emotion fear will create another fearful thought, and that fearful thought will create another fear, and so on. In the second case, the fear that we feel is only released from our accumulated past fears. It can happen even without thinking. In this second case, watch the energy of the fear, allow it to be, and feel it fully. Accept it. The following sentence is addressed to you. Be present and realize who you are.